you're asked to audition with a monologue or maybe two contrasting monologues and you don't have any decent monologues. This is a problem a lot of actors face. Where do you find monologues? Well, we're going to talk more about where to find monologues and how to choose the best monologues for your audition or for you after the bump. Hey everybody, I'm Doug Fall, your augmented actor, helping you augment your acting career with tips, tactics, and tech. Hit subscribe, hit subscribe, hit subscribe. You won't regret it. Not all actors need a monologue a lot these days. Only theater auditions tend to use monologues, and usually they only use them for general auditions or season auditions. Usually you're going to be reading from scripts, and most directors don't want to watch monologues all day long. But you're still going to need a monologue from time to time, and sometimes on very little notice. I already did another video on targeting your monologue for specific roles. You'll see the link on the screen or down in the description below. But this one, we're going to talk about where to find monologues and how to find the best monologue for you. So let's talk first about where to find monologues. You might already be familiar with those monologue books that you get. Men's monologues from the 90s and women's monologues for women in their 40s or whatever. There's a ton of those kind of books out there, and they are pretty good resources for monologues. You can usually find something in a pinch. However, they tend to have monologues that are a little bit longer than needed for an audition, and they also tend to be very popular with actors. So you may find that a lot of actors are using those same monologues. And the other thing about those books is that they're often from non-published plays, or they're written by the same writer, and they're not really that great of monologues. However, if you are in a pinch and you need some good books to choose monologues from, I have a list of options down below so that you don't have to spend a lot of time finding a good monologue book for you. You can check the links down below and find one that's current. I highly recommend that you keep a monologue book, a folder, a booklet, a binder, or it can be on your device in digital format. But every time you come across a monologue, whether you're reading a script or you've done a show and you had some good monologues in it, cut those out, put them in the book, tell a little bit about the character and what the monologue might be used for, and organize them in your book just like a musical theater actor would organize their songbook. If you are a musical theater actor and you need to put together a songbook, I have a video on that as well. I like to find my monologues from source material that comes to me through auditions and callbacks, and shows that I've been in as well. So if I do a show, I not only remember and pull all the monologues that I have in the show, but I also pull monologues that would be good for me from other characters in the show. And the great thing about pulling from shows you've been in is that you are already familiar with the material, you've already committed some of it to memory, so those should be fresh on your mind. Then when you have auditions and callbacks and somebody gives you sides to read, or maybe your agent sends you some copy in commercial form and it works as a monologue, keep it, put that in your folder. Now you don't want to use those same monologues for the same auditors in a short amount of time. You want to let some time pass before you bring those materials back. Another great place to find new material is to take an acting class or sit in on an acting class. Watching other actors do their monologues, you'll discover pieces that are just amazing. I found so many wonderful pieces that people have dug up from nowhere, and make sure that you ask them where they got their monologue from or what the piece is from, so that you can write that down and then go and find it later. There's nothing wrong with borrowing from other people. If it works for you, go ahead and take it. You're not going to be competing with that particular actor very much, so use it. Also, just read scripts regularly. Pick up scripts at the library or at the used bookstore and read through them And you can skim the pages even and look for monologues. But if you find a good one in a script, you want to make sure that you read the entire script so you know the context of the monologue and put those notes in your book. When you're looking at scripts, even shows that you've done or auditions you've done, sometimes you can find really good monologues by looking at the dialogue. For instance, I recently put together a monologue from a character I played in August, Osage County, and it was a scene between this character and another character in the show, but the other character kind of just responded with uh-huhs and yeps and things like that throughout. So I just strung all the dialogue and modified a few words here and there to make it work as a monologue. That's perfectly acceptable for audition purposes. No one's going to worry about whether or not the other actor says something. And you can even pause in a monologue and have the other actor respond silently while you do the piece. So dialogue is a great resource for monologues. There are also monologue resources online. One of the Augmented Actor Facebook group members, Samantha A. Camp, she has challenged herself to memorize and perform on camera a new monologue every week or so. And she posts it to the group, and other members of her group are free to post their monologues as well. And so you can go and watch these great monologues being performed and get ideas and resources from that sort of thing. Now let's talk a little bit about the types of monologues that you want to have at the ready in your book. People will often ask for contrasting monologues, and that can mean, different time periods, different authors, one comedic, one tragic, it could be one classical, one modern. So you want to have a broad range of monologues in your book to choose from. I suggest a classical piece, maybe a Shakespeare piece, something from the Greek theater if you're into that kind of thing, or something sort of neoclassic like Ibsen or Beckett. And then you want some contemporary pieces as well, something in the last 10, 20 years. You want to choose characters that match your age range and your overall type, but you also want to choose some monologues that show other types and ranges and characters that you can play that you don't normally get to play because people don't see you that way. That's a way to sort of expand your horizons in casting. So having a variety of monologues at the ready will cover your bases whenever you have a quick turnaround audition. You want to choose monologues that are about a minute, no more than 2 minutes, but a minute is ideal. Audition times are often very short, and they might want you to do 2 pieces and you got 3 minutes to present your material. So if your monologues are 2 or 3 minutes long, you're gonna get cut off, they're gonna get mad, they're gonna get bored. So make your pieces short and sweet, a minute long, and there's several reasons to do that. First of all, no director has ever said, I want to see a longer monologue. The only time you ever have to perform a 10-minute monologue is in some sort of school competition type scenario. So no director is going to criticize you for having a short, brief audition. Having a brief monologue gives the director room to ask for more. And so if you have another monologue prepared, and they want to see something different, they might ask you to perform a second monologue. Another reason, it's easier to memorize. You can push more of those monologues into your memory, and it's also easier to refresh your memory when you have a quick turnaround. You just look in your book and pick a short monologue that you've already learned. You'd rather leave a director wanting more than being bored. You want to choose a monologue that has a nice, solid beginning and a nice little button on the end. You don't want to leave them hanging at the end of the monologue. And even if you have to chop out a section of the monologue and get to the ending line, you can kind of modify it like that. But keep it so that it has a nice beginning, middle, and end. You want to avoid monologues that are telling narrative stories, that are not active in the moment. A lot of monologues in those monologue books are narrative-based monologues. In fact, a lot of monologues are narrative-based, so you got to be careful about this. The reason is that they're sort of passive. It's somebody sitting there telling a story that takes us, we have to use our imagination to imagine this story, and it's not about the active moment in that character's life. So you want to choose a monologue that you're talking to somebody, a specific character, and you're telling them to do something. You're doing something in that monologue, or you're active in the scene, and not just telling a story that happened in the past. And finally, you want to choose a monologue that isn't too busy, that you can do relatively easy, just standing still. It doesn't require the use of props monologues on telephones, things like that. You want to find a way to do your monologue very minimally and very quickly and easily. So don't complicate your audition by having a lot of extra business. And that's it. You're on your way to getting more and more solid with your monologues. It takes practice, it takes dedication, it takes focus in your off hours when you're not acting to build up your repertoire of monologues. But believe me, when you need it, you will be glad you did. If you love this video, there are some more videos very similar to this on your screen right now. Remember to subscribe and also hit that like button because it really helps me out. All right? See you next time.